Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, that's Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD 1111.NET Framework with Web Databases class, I've been creating a series of video presentations based on the textbook for the class for the fall 2019 semester. The textbook is, as you can see on your screen here, is Pro ASP.NET MVC5, an 8-press text by Adam Freeman. Now, in the last set of in the last video, I came in and said I wasn't going to go in and we started Sports Score, said we probably wouldn't do much unit testing. We came in and we created the blank solution. Under the blank solution, we went in and we did the Sports Store domain, the Sports Store web UI, and the Sports Store unit test. So we had all this. Then what I said was, I don't think we're going to do the Ninject and the mock stuff. Well, it does appear as though some of the stuff in here is probably going to be necessary. So what I am going to do is I am going to just highlight all first of the Ninject stuff. Go back to my project. Do a Tools, NuGet Package Manager, NuGet Package Manager Console. And it's maybe a little dangerous as I'm bringing all of them in at once, all of them Ninject, but I'm going to do that anyway. Again, as always, if anything turns red, there's a problem here. That's the last one. And again, I don't see right now, I don't see any errors. I don't see anything that's in red right here. This is all the Ninject. And that was the ASP.NET 5.0. So it looks as though everything went without a hitch. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in and I'm going to add the stuff for mock. Oops. And again, as you can see, it looks as though we've got nothing red in here, period. So it appears as if everything worked. Notice this time too, since we used the earlier versions, in our app start, we did get the Ninject web comment in here. Alright, so I'm going to close this for now. Those warnings that you see right there were things we got earlier. I don't think they have anything to do with what we're working on right now. So I've done this. I have done this. And the next thing to do was to add the references between the projects. I have added all of them except I wasn't able to go into my domain and add the assembly reference for component model data annotations. So I'm going to see if I can come in and do that. So it was for the domain. I wanted to come in and try to add a reference. And before, when we did this, this is what came up, that there were no references to add or extensions. We don't want to do the projects. There's nothing to browse. So it appears as though there is nothing in here for us to be able to use. Alright, hopefully we can get that later. So setting up the DI, or our dependency injection container. It says there in chapter 6, the author showed how to use Ninject to create a dependency resolver that the MVC framework can use to instantiate objects across the application. We're repeating the process here by creating an infrastructure folder and then adding this, the contents here, adding a class file called Ninject Dependency Resolver. Let's see if we've done that. It doesn't look as though we have. So, in the web UI, we want to create a folder that is called infrastructure. So let's close what's not web UI. And I think we have. We do not have a folder that I can see that is called infrastructure. So I'm going to right mouse click, add, new folder, infrastructure. Okay. I'm going to right mouse click, choose add, go down to class, and the name of the class that we want to add is our Ninject dependency resolver.cs. And there it is. Alright, so the contents of the file are shown here. I'm going to shorten up the size of this page so that I can highlight all of it. Alright, now we have it all in there. So again, this is the code that's shown on page 159 in our text. As you may recall from chapter 6, the next step is to create a bridge between this Ninject dependency resolver class and the MVC support for dependency injection in the appstart ninject web common.cs file, which again is in there now. Alright, so we want to go in our register services in our Ninject file, copy. There's our register services. So we're going to add this. Okay. So far so good. Let's do a file save all because we haven't done that in a while. And let's run the application. And my guess is just as we had before. Alright, the same way that we did it before. When we run this, we're going to get an error message. We do not have an index.cs HTML file. So there's no starting point, so to speak, for the program. And again, a 404 error, the resource cannot be found. Alright, this is where we left off last time, except now we've added all of the additional stuff, so to speak, that we didn't have before. Alright, so all MVC framework projects start with a domain model because everything basically revolves around it. So we want to create a new folder. I think I did this in our domain called entities and make our product inside of there. And again, I think I've done this. So in our domain, there's entities, there's products, okay? And I've got a lot of stuff open here. I can always reopen anything I want. So looks a little better. All right. The author says that here he's following the technique of defining the domain model in a separate Visual Studio project, meaning the class, again, must be marked as being public. So we had to add that, if you remember, from the last lecture. You do not need to follow this convention, but it is recommended. All right. Creating an abstract repository. I need some way of setting product entries from a database. As explained in Chapter 3, the model includes persistent logic. Remember, so far what we've been doing is we've been hard coding our data, typically in the controller, and that's what I was going to do this last time too, but it was just too big of a change. Actually, I should take that back and say it was too much of doing things the way we had been doing them and not more the way we should be doing them. So we were supposed to add in our domain, a new folder called abstract. And I did that, and there's the product repository. All right, and we wanted to change it. I believe I already have, but I'm just going to grab this, copy it. Okay. I think it pretty much, if not, looks exactly the same as it did. At least it's doggone similar. All right. This interface, as it says, uses IEnumerable. And remember, with an IEnumerable, in many ways, we're not caring how things are being passed in, what kind of products they are, etc. All right. This is pretty much where I left off last time. I have added a couple new things, as you know. We added our new stuff through NuGet, but this is kind of where I stopped right now under this making a mock repository. So the author says now that we've defined the abstract interface, we should implement a persistence mechanism and hook it up to the database. But I want to add some other parts of the application first. In order to do this, we're going to create a mock implementation of the iProduct repository interface that will stand in. So in other words, it will act as our database, I believe, until we return to the topic of data storage. All right. So in our Ninject dependency resolver, we want to change. So I'm just going to highlight all of these using statements and replace what we have in there right now with this. All right. Here is our Ninject dependency resolver. Here's what we have right now for our using statements, and we're basically doubling the size. Some of them are gray, as you can see, probably the ones we've just added. That's totally fine. All right. So we've got this here, and I'm going to take a very quick look. So namespace. I don't think there's really any sense in overwriting the stuff if everything that's in here so far is correct. And it looks like it is. So what it looks like what we want to do is in our add bindings where it says put bindings here, that's actually what we want to do. And again, I am trying to follow the lead of what's in this book here. So there's probably going to be times when things may have to change or whatever. Something may or may not work for whatever reason. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. All right. But we've got our mock data in here, as you can see, and there are no errors coming up, which of course is always a good sign. The author says he had to add a number of namespaces, but the process used to create the mock repository uses the same mock techniques introduced in Chapter 6. The author says, I want Ninject to return the same mock object whenever it gets a request for an implementation of an iProduct repository interface, which is why we've got that to constraint that you see right here. All right. I'm at 15 minutes, just about 16. So we're up to page 163, displaying a list of products, and we will continue on with that shortly in the next lecture.